My name is Sherry Hansen. Right now, I am facing the most difficult decision of my life. It was 4 years ago that my father, Richard, died in a traffic accident. On an ordinary Monday morning, on his way to work as usual, he was involved in an accident caused by reckless driving and was killed instantly. By the time the ambulance arrived, it was already too late. Someone's negligence had instantly changed our lives. Moreover, the pain was intensified by the fact that the perpetrator was never found. My father's death left our family with deep sadness and a lingering pain of justice not served. At the time of the accident, I was a senior in college. I was excelling in my business studies and had a job offer from a major consulting firm after graduation. However, my father's death completely changed my future plans. He was the sole breadwinner of our family. My mother, Diane, has been a homemaker since getting married, dedicating herself to taking care of the family. She was skilled in cooking, attentive to the family's health, and valued relationships with neighbors, an ideal housewife. However, the sudden death of her husband gradually sapped her will to live. She could not cook for days and suffered from sleepless nights. The psychological shock was so severe that working outside was unthinkable. In this situation, I decided to change my job prospects. I needed a job that provided immediate income rather than pursuing a glamorous career at a consulting firm. Fortunately, through a referral from one of my father's acquaintances, I secured a job at a local IT company. Although the salary was lower than my initial offer, the company provided substantial overtime pay and allowed work on holidays. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll take care of everything." When I said those words, I was 22 years old. It might have been the recklessness of youth, but there was no other option. The responsibility to support our family financially had fallen on me after my father's death. My sister, Nicole, was 19 years old at the time. She was attending a local university but decided to drop out soon after our father's death. "I'm going to become a YouTuber," she declared one evening at dinner. "As an influencer, I want to impact many people. That's my mission now." My mother looked puzzled but did not strongly object. After my father's death, everyone in the family was emotionally unstable. Nicole's decision might have been an emotional choice in such circumstances. Still, we managed for the first 6 months. Including overtime, my salary was enough to modestly support our family of 3. The mortgage was paid off with my father's life insurance, and covering living expenses for my mother and sister was feasible. Nicole dedicated herself to video production. Her channel, Nicole Spirit, focused on lifestyle and positive thinking. Morning routines, skincare tips, stylish room decor, and motivation maintenance targeted at teenagers and women in their 20s. The era of social media is here. Traditional work methods are outdated. She would say, posting new videos daily. She researched extensively, and her camera work and editing skills improved day by day. Most comments from viewers were positive, and her subscriber count gradually increased. However, reality was harsh. 3 months in, she only had about 2,000 subscribers. Ad revenue was barely a few $10 a month, and there were no sponsorship deals. Yet, she refused to give up her lavish lifestyle to maintain her brand. "I can't maintain my skin condition without organic food. This beauty treatment is an investment. If I don't look good, viewers will turn away. I can't compete without a new camera." Her demands continued endlessly. More than $300 per week vanished into beauty-related expenses. In the beginning, we could manage with my father's inheritance. However, as Nicole's demands escalated, they increasingly strained our finances. The latest camera equipment, lighting, editing software, all costs were coming out of my pocket. My regular salary was not enough to cover these expenses, and I worked overtime daily and on holidays to make ends meet. Sometimes we would have conversations like this. "Nicole, why don't you think realistically? You can continue YouTube while working a part-time job." She would vehemently oppose. "You don't understand. This isn't just a hobby, it's my mission." And invariably, She would end up crying to our mother. "Mom, my sister doesn't understand my dream." My mother always indulged and protected Nicole. Sometimes, Nicole would even use our mother's money without permission. As a result, my mother would ask me for even more help, and all the burdens ultimately fell on my shoulders. Just the other day, Nicole wanted an expensive brand name bag. I can't look good as an influencer without this. Even though I opposed it, my mother secretly gave her the money. I just want to see Nicole happy. My mother always says that, trying to fulfill my sister's wishes. Nicole's room is now overflowing with unused expensive equipment and clothes. Even so, my mother continued to relentlessly ask me for money for Nicole's new essentials. "You're so cold." Nicole would cry out, and each time, my mother hurried to console her, saying, "You don't understand how hard she's working." And once again, I was made out to be the villain. My salary disappeared each month in this way. Overtime and bonuses too, all were used to support their lives. My bank account balance became nearly invisible, and my savings were depleting rapidly. Yet, Nicole's investments continued, and my mother remained indulgently sweet towards her. Looking back, my mother's pampering of Nicole started when she was very young. "Nicole is a special child," was a phrase my mother often repeated. Since elementary school, Nicole had been given more expensive clothes and toys than other children. In middle school, when Nicole used my mother's card to spend $1,000 on dining out with friends, my mother did not scold her. She was lonely. Making memories with friends is important, isn't it? In high school, Nicole's grades plummeted as she became obsessed with social media and neglected her studies. I expressed my concern. "Isn't this bad?" But my mother would say, "Nicole has her own path. She's special." And now, as Nicole chases her dream of being a YouTuber, my mother continues to spoil her. As Nicole's demands grew, so did the seriousness of my mother's pampering. My life became solely about work. I worked from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekdays, and also went in on weekends to earn overtime. I literally worked 7 days a week. I had no time for hobbies or socializing with friends, and I declined all invitations from men for dates. As I approached 30 years old, my life was consumed solely by supporting my family. Yet, Nicole's demands only increased. I saw an influencer hosting a retreat. It costs $1,000 to participate, but it will definitely grow my channel if I can go. I need a new ring light. The one I'm using is too old. This brand approached me to provide products, but first I have to buy their products myself and make a review video. I was utterly exhausted by her costly, incessant, and unnecessary demands. However, the thought that my family relied on me kept me going. It was both a sense of duty and a kind of pride. I believed it was my role to protect my family in place of my father. The turning point came last fall. Nicole was focusing on videos by Julia Smith, a lifestyle influencer who was rapidly gaining popularity at the time. Despite starting her YouTube channel later than Nicole, Julia had become a major influencer with over 1 million followers, and her influence was immense. Why is she more successful than me when she started later? Driven by jealousy of Julia, Nicole began to study her videos. However, her research soon took a dangerous turn. I'll expose her. I'll show how her perfect life is nothing but lies. Nicole began meticulously watching all of Julia's past videos, searching for inconsistencies. She obsessively picked out minor details such as slight differences in the shades of cosmetics used in her makeup videos, unnatural changes in furniture arrangement in her lifestyle videos, and inconsistencies in the timing of her cooking videos. She then started posting videos criticizing Julia, using parts of Julia's videos without permission. Do you guys notice the lies? Compare this scene to this scene. Clearly, the sets are different. Meaning, her natural everyday life is all fabricated. Ironically, this critical video garnered more attention than expected. The views, usually only in the hundreds, suddenly exceeded 50,000. The comment section was flooded with remarks like, "I knew it," and "good observation." and Nicole's channel received unprecedented attention. Thrilled by the response, Nicole began producing even more extreme expose videos. She picked up unsubstantiated rumors about Julia's personal life and posted a series of information that tarnished her reputation under the pretext of hearing it from industry insiders. Her designer bags are all rentals. She only borrows them for Instagram posts. Actually, she's broken up with her boyfriend but still pretends to be together. Her family relations are actually terrible, they only come together for shoots. Nicole's jealousy was no longer suppressed by reason. The more views her videos grew, the more intense her attacks became. A warning soon arrived. It said that legal action could be taken for copyright infringement and defamation. But even this warning stimulated Nicole's distorted psychology. If they threaten to sue, doesn't that mean I'm right? What's wrong with telling the truth? From then on, Nicole completely lost her mental balance. She monitored social media day and night, obsessively leaving comments on Julia's posts. She stopped wearing makeup, ate irregularly, and sometimes stayed up all night digging through Julia's past posts. Look, these posts don't match up chronologically. It's all lies, all of it. Late at night, she would burst into my room, spouting incoherent words. The bright and positive sister I once knew had completely disappeared. Sherry, have I gone crazy? But when I see her, I can't stop feeling irritated. Jealousy, hatred, and self-loathing consumed her. Every new post from Julia deeply upset her, and she would lock herself in her room and cry continuously. Yet, she kept posting more aggressive videos. On social media, she slandered Julia as a fraud and con artist, and she told her fans they were brainwashed and to wake up. Nicole's extreme behavior started to drive away her existing followers. Eventually, a formal warning arrived from Julia's lawyer. They demanded $500,000 as compensation and stated that if we did not comply, legal proceedings would follow. Am I wrong? But she's a liar. She started after me, so why not me? My mother felt a deep sense of crisis seeing Nicole like this. At this rate, she'll break. One day, when I returned home from work, my mother was sitting alone in the kitchen, sighing. "Sherry, I have a request." The expression on my mother's face was marked with deep fatigue and anxiety. "I want to take Nicole to Hawaii. I think she needs time away from the environment and social media. If she stays locked up at home like this, she won't be able to recover." I immediately objected. "Mom, where would the money for that come from? We're already struggling with the compensation payment. Besides, a temporary escape won't solve anything." "But I can't just leave Nicole like this. She says in the middle of the night that she wants to disappear." I'm scared." My mother's voice trembled. Indeed, my sister's condition was serious. However, this was an issue that should be addressed with professional counseling, not resolved with an expensive trip to Hawaii. At that moment, I talked about my own plans. Actually, I was thinking of buying a car. It would reduce my commute time, allow me to work more overtime, and serve as transportation for the family, right? And, as if to interrupt my words, my mother began to speak. "Sherry, you really don't understand Nicole's condition. Just last night, she was looking at Julia's social media and muttering, 'I want to disappear. No one needs me.' If things continue like this, if she keeps going like this, I just can't imagine what could possibly happen to her." My mother's voice shook again. Indeed, Nicole's condition was worsening by the day. Each time she opened social media, her expression twisted, and she cried every time she saw a new post by Julia. Those days continued. "Let's consult a professional. I'll look for a good psychiatrist." However, my mother shook her head. "We need to change the environment immediately. In Hawaii, it will be harder for her to use her smartphone. In nature, she should be able to find some peace of mind." My mother's expression showed her determination. I sighed deeply. "Mom, that won't solve anything. Let's talk properly tomorrow night." With those words, I returned to my room. Indeed, my sister's condition was serious. But is a temporary escape truly a solution? The next day, when I returned home from work, the house was eerily quiet. A note was stuck on the fridge. "Sherry, I'm sorry. I'm taking Nicole to Hawaii. She had a hyperventilation attack this morning. I couldn't wait any longer. We can save up money again, right? Let's meet in a week." Mom. The message tore at my heart. It felt as if my feelings were being dismissed as insignificant. When I checked the bank account, $25,000 had been withdrawn. It was the money I had desperately saved for improving our lives. Every day's overtime, weekend work, all the entertainment I had given up, all of it had suddenly been spent like this. I stood frozen, reading the note over and over. Various emotions swirled in my mind: anger, sadness, the pain of betrayal, and resignation. For a week, I pondered deeply. Certainly Nicole's condition was critical. My mother's actions were likely motivated by her love for her daughter. But was this really a solution? Rather, this escape might only reinforce Nicole's dependent personality. My mother called almost every day, but I didn't answer. Instead, when I opened social media, there were posts from my mother and sister in Hawaii. The first thing I saw was a photo at Waikiki Beach. Nicole is dressed in a new swimsuit, smiling perfectly for the camera. Hawaii Day 1. A fresh start, becoming a new me. It had over 3,000 likes. The next post was of smiles at a fancy restaurant. The best seafood and the best mom. The person who understands me the most. The hashtags included: #family trip, #luxury dinner, #healing time. Her post from a high-end hotel's infinity pool read, "Sometimes life needs a little luxury." The view from the room, which must have been paid for with my savings, filled the screen. My mother looked happy for the first time in a long while. Special time with my precious mom. Money can always be saved up again. And her latest post read, "I was able to transform into a new me, thanks to everyone who supported me. But there were also those who didn't." Ironically, the numerous healing trip photos clearly showed that Nicole's dependence on social media had not improved at all. In fact, her posting frequency seemed to have increased compared to when she was back at home. I closed the screen and sighed deeply. The series of posts were as if they completely misunderstood the reason for my heartaches. That was the result of my desperate savings being used. Above all, the act of using my savings without permission completely destroyed my trust toward my family. It took me 3 days to make a decision. I consulted with a psychiatrist and sought advice. "I understand your family's feelings, but a temporary change of environment alone will not solve the problem fundamentally. It might even encourage escapism. The patient needs professional counseling and appropriate treatment." The doctor's words solidified my resolve. First, I signed a lease for a new apartment. It's a small one-room located just a 15-minute walk from my workplace. Next, I moved all the furniture and appliances I had purchased into the new apartment. TV, refrigerator, washing machine, microwave, dishes. Everything except for things that were keepsakes of my father were items I had bought. Finally, I opened a new bank account and changed my salary deposit details. I completely emptied the bank account my mother knew about. At the same time, I made an appointment for Nicole to see a psychiatrist nearby. When my mother and Nicole returned from Hawaii, they found an almost empty house. As expected, my phone kept ringing after that. "Sherry, what do you mean by this? The house is empty. Nicole is getting sick again." My mother's voice was a mix of panic and fear. Nicole also kept calling, her voice crying out desperately, "Sherry, don't abandon me, please." But this time, I could not let my emotions get the better of me. I thought deeply for a week. I had to change this situation. Continuing to carry the family's burdens would make no one happy. It would only further encourage my mother and Nicole's dependency. 2 days later, I sent a brief email. "Dear Mom and Nicole, the use of my savings for your trip to Hawaii has irreparably damaged our relationship. Nicole, I understand your suffering. That's why I've made an appointment for you at a nearby psychiatric clinic. The appointment time and place are as per the attached note. True recovery involves facing reality, not running from it, with the help of professionals. I have done my best for our family, but it seems I have made no one happy. I've only strengthened Nicole's dependency, encouraged Mom's escapism, and exhausted myself. From now on, I think each of us should live our lives responsibly. You two can live at home as it is Dad's keepsake. However, my financial support ends today. Still, I am willing to consider covering Nicole's treatment costs if she is serious about improving herself. Goodbye. Sherry. After that, calls and messages flooded in. My mother blamed me, Nicole cried out, and relatives sent critical messages. How could you abandon your family? You're so cold. What would your father say if he saw this? How could you do this without considering your sister's mental state? I did not succumb to their emotional attacks. I blocked all contacts and made my social media accounts private. My life then began anew. At first, I did feel some loneliness. But strangely, there was a greater sense of relief, as if I was freed from heavy chains. I reduced overtime and weekend work and started studying for a certification. I found a small hobby as well. Growing houseplants has become my new joy. 3 months later, my mother and Nicole showed up at my office. They were almost stopped by security, but I agreed to meet them briefly. My mother was clearly exhausted. There were dark circles under her eyes and her hair was completely disheveled. Nicole had completely shut down her YouTube channel, and my mother had started working as a waitress at a local family restaurant. "Please come home. We can't live without you," my mother pleaded tearfully. "Your father would want all of us to cherish this family he left behind." I responded quietly but with strong resolve. "No, Mom, that's not right. Dad would have wanted me to cherish my own life. Loving the family and sacrificing oneself are different things. That was the last time I saw them. Half a year has passed since then. Occasionally, I hear about them from acquaintances in the neighborhood. The relatives who had criticized me later learned about my mother and Nicole's trip to Hawaii and distanced themselves from them. Afterward, the relatives apologized to me, acknowledging that my actions had ultimately been the right decision. Nicole now works night shifts at a grocery store while attending weekly counseling sessions. The repayment of debts is tough, but they seem to be trying to move forward bit by bit. My mother is also working hard at the restaurant, supporting Nicole. Maybe they are starting to walk their paths together. My life has also changed significantly. I was promoted at work and given new responsibilities as a team leader. I also have a boyfriend now. He works in a different department of the same company. He is certainly a kind and understanding person. I've told him all about my past. He supports my decisions, saying, "You made the right choice. People who can't cherish themselves can't truly cherish others." I nodded deeply at his words. Occasionally, I think about my family. I'm tormented by guilt for abandoning them, especially on my father's death anniversary. I still wonder if it was right or wrong. But I believe it was a necessary decision. At least this is the life I have chosen for myself. I will no longer be swayed by anyone else. And most importantly, I feel that I am truly living my life for the first time.